What's up, friends? This is office hours time, and I'm excited to answer some questions. So let me share my screen. Yeah, let me actually just intro the idea of office hours to you. I thought that I still had it, but I guess I closed it. All right, here it is. This is office hours, your opportunity to come ask me questions, mostly weekly. You'll find a link to the Zoom on here, and then when I run out of questions in the Zoom, then I go to Discord to answer questions here. Let me just double check really quick that things are working, because I just realized I didn't check that it actually was streaming. Oh, Dax is on Twitch watching. Okay, so it is working. How come you look so healthy all the time? I don't know. I actually, that's funny you say that. For the last couple of days, I've been dealing with like flu symptoms, not stuffy nose and plugged up ears and sore throat. Yeah, so not. It's funny that you should say that I look healthy all the time right after or right when I'm actually having some health issues. Okay, so nobody's in the Zoom right now, so I'm going to go over to the Discord and answer some questions that have been asked over here. Jacob is always being super helpful answering questions throughout the week too. Okay, so coming right around. Okay, yeah, so this is follow-up. Feel free to dive into this a little bit. But from my last office hours, Amin figured out what the problem was, which is awesome. We'll start with this one. Oh, you know what? I dealt with this one already. Coming to this one then, from Brent. Does anyone here have experience with how to update a multi-page legacy web app? Oh, okay. To use Node to get imports and bundling. I heard suggestions of using Bytes. Some say Parcel is a good tool. Here, actually, you know what? I need to come back here before I get too far into this and say, hi, Brent. I'm answering this on stream now. And actually, where's that stream? Let me grab a link so that it's easy for people to find. There we go. Okay. Not sure how to start or how to begin updating the app at this point, and I'm struggling to find a clear resources online. I'd like to add Vite. Did I say Vite earlier? It's Vite. Or Parcel to the application, but I'm having trouble finding examples how to do this in an existing app that is not a SPA or has any Node environment, not using Node at all. Yeah, tutorials. So Brent, tutorials are going to show you how to set up Vite from scratch, because that's the easiest way to do it. To have a full application ready to go is just not like as part of a tutorial is just difficult to do. So here's me standing up for tutorial creators, I guess. But I think to answer your question, I would personally reach for Vite. You don't have to be using Node.js for like in production for this, but you do have to use Node.js for the dev server locally during development. So you'll get you're gonna need to have Node if you want to have bundling. I'm sure that there's some non-Node solutions for bundling, for bundlers, like that there used to be before Node was a thing, but I don't know that any of them have really gotten any attention. Yeah, part of me is wondering what your motivation behind bringing in a bundler is. If you're starting a new project from scratch, 100% you should use one of these tools. If you have an existing project, the only reason I'm hesitant is because if you have an existing project that you're just in maintenance mode for, it makes a lot of sense to me that you would just stick with the vanilla stuff. and make incremental upgrades to using native ESM if what you're looking for is like imports and stuff and having modules. Like you've got imports already just because of native ESM. Bundling may not be necessary if you don't have like if you clearly you're not already using NPM. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So you're not using NPM. You don't have like a bajillion modules that you need to put all together. So it does seem to me like this may not be necessary. But if you are planning on investing a lot in your tooling or your user experience on the front end, then it does make sense to start working with something like Vite. But yeah, making multi-page app work with Vite, yeah, certainly that's possible. But yeah, the default experience is yeah, it's definitely a now I'm rethinking this a little bit because yeah, like if you're using Vite, you're either doing a single page app because like Vite's going to handle I don't know, does Vite have multiple entries? I mean, the Remix plugin supports running Vite twice, so you have two builds, one for the server, one for the client. I don't know. I'm guessing Vite has support for multiple entries, but like the thing is, you'll want to have an entry for every page that you need JavaScript on. That entry will be the main JavaScript file. I'm trying to think back. Like when there was definitely an application I worked on way back that had like separate JavaScript files for different pages and stuff. Oh man, that's just like a different world from where we are now. Yeah, what do I recommend to you? Okay, here's what I recommend. If you're not planning on investing heavily in the UX from the client-side code perspective, then I would suggest just sticking with vanilla.js and start using imports because those are supported in the browser. And like you can probably get a really long way that way. Especially if what you have is pretty lightweight. But if you want to start using TypeScript and there are some tooling things that you're interested in, like some benefits from tools that you want to get involved with, then I think it would make sense to start using Vite. Or even if it's not Vite, you could use kind of cobble together your own tools with ESBuild and say like generate, here are all my entries for all of the different pages and just generate bundles for all those. You could do it that way. It's very difficult, and this is probably why the tutorials don't show you how to do what you're doing specifically, because it's going to be different for most projects anyway. Just kind of depends on like, does every page need to have this and whatever else. This is why React Server Components are awesome, actually. Some of you are like, wait, how did React Server Components get in here? But the reason is that your CFML Cold Fusion backend is integrating indirectly. There's some indirection here with your vanilla.js stuff. And the cool thing about RSCs is that integration is really tight. So the RSC would pretty much take over all of the stuff that this backend is doing, except for like you could probably keep it around for like endpoints for data and stuff. But yeah, the RSC stuff would be in charge of all of the UI, and the integration between the front end and back end, that network chasm just kind of completely goes away. But that doesn't help you, Brent. You're way far away from using RSCs in your current setup. You'd probably just have to start a little bit from scratch on your UI if you wanted to do that. And also, you said vanilla.js, so you're not even using React. So anyway, yeah, conceptually, what you need to do if you want to use these tools is you definitely need to have Node installed during development and in your CI server. And then you will have a entry file for each individual module that you want to, or like, yeah, just an entry file for each page. You say, okay, so here's the JavaScript that's needed for this page. Here's the JavaScript that's needed for this page. You build those out, and then you need to create some sort of manifest or something that your server can say look up which JavaScript file it needs to add to which pages and stuff. Yeah, there, as far as I'm aware, there aren't really tools for this. I don't know about the tooling around this ecosystem, whether they've got anything. But yeah, you're gonna be kind of on your own, doing things different from like the way most people do. Sorry. Okay, I need to check this message from my wife really quick. Okay. Oh, one other thing I need to say. Okay. Sorry, one more thing. She's probably going to reply from that last thing I sent, so I'll have to do this again. Okay. My question is, when will we have to learn GraphQL? Is it worth to learn REST, or REST APIs enough? So, Mohammed, GraphQL was really, really useful for some scenarios since the beginning. And there were a lot of people who jumped on GraphQL who didn't really need to use GraphQL, but it was just exciting, and that's what the React team was doing. And so, yeah, a lot of people wanted to use GraphQL. I used GraphQL in one capacity. It was when I was at PayPal, and the use case wasn't the primary thing that most people reached for GraphQL for. The primary thing that most people reached for it for was to solve the data overfetching and underfetching problem. Yep, there it is. Sorry, my wife is more important than you all. She was asking if anybody was watching the baby, and I said my son was. I gave that job to him, and he said he would, and I asked, did he not? And she said he did. I said, oh, good. My son is awesome. All of my kids are fantastic. Okay, so yeah, so most people reached to GraphQL just because, honestly, so it is a huge pain to have to call like 30 REST endpoints, and so it's nice to be able to call just one. Data collocation is another big one that people reach to GraphQL for, so that you could just say, here's my query for this component, and if you don't need a property anymore, you can delete it. If you need the property now, you can add it. So I would say most people actually reach for GraphQL as on the consumer side, because the DX is quite nice once you have it set up. And then on the producer side, whoever's making the GraphQL endpoint probably overestimated the performance gains. And maybe also a little bit like, I'm sick and tired of making bespoke endpoints. Here's just one endpoint to get you everything that you need. Most people didn't really need it, and it added like an enormous amount of complexity. All of that said, when I was at PayPal, we used it to take the like thousands of different endpoints that we had for getting data and consolidate it into a single endpoint that just was supposed to make things really, really nice. That work was in progress when I was at PayPal, and I wasn't super involved with that work. I did use the endpoint in one app, but yeah, wasn't super involved in that work. And actually, you know what? Now that I remember, I worked on PayPal Me, and we did use GraphQL, and that was just one endpoint for our app. And at the same time, the checkout team was working on a like end-all be-all GraphQL endpoint. That's what was going on. So anyway, they hadn't finished by the time I left. I'm not sure exactly how that project went, but that kind of made sense to me to like consolidate all of these data sources. Most people don't have that problem, and even I'm not 100% convinced that that is the right solution either. I would defer to the people who actually took that project to the end. Yeah, they would probably be able to say better. Anyway, is it worth learning GraphQL? Probably not. You're probably just fine sticking with REST APIs. Even further, it just really depends on your application that you're working on currently and your goals for that application, and like the existing infrastructure that you have. I would learn whatever that existing thing is and just do that. The really cool thing with what Remix does is with the loaders and actions, you can talk to your database directly, or you can use a backend for your front-end model and talk to whatever endpoints they are, if they're GraphQL or REST or whatever, SOAP, whatever, and that works nicely. And then what was the other? I was going to say another thing. Oh yeah, even if you're not using Remix, React Router has client loader and client action and stuff too, which makes loading everything quite nice. Yeah, I just don't see a whole lot of value in GraphQL. I never really did. I was convinced it was an interesting thing to play with when we were on PayPal, working on PayPal Me. It was one engineer who was really interested in doing it, and so he built it all out, and then I consumed it, and I was like, yeah, this is fine. Except I did not want to use like a Apollo or something, because we literally, like, PayPal Me is not a complicated app. Here, actually, let's look at this. If we go to PayPal Me, Kent C. Dodds, go take a look at the network. Let's see if we can find the GraphQL endpoint. Where's my data? Fetch. Here we go. No, cookies. I probably better not show any cookies. I don't think I'm logged in, but yeah, that I believe is the analytics request. This, yeah, that's not going to be it either. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? Maybe they updated it to. No, it does server render. Hold on, let's see if I hit send. Whoa, what's going on here? Oh, now I have to log in. All right, yeah. Okay, we're not going to find it. But anyway, yeah, I should log in and look at it. Anyway, we're not going to do that. So what I was saying is I didn't even want to use like a big, weird abstraction for such a simple app. It's really not that complicated. And so we brought in a package that I can't remember what it was called. It was like a minimal GraphQL request. That's what it is. GraphQL request, or maybe request GraphQL. Yeah, I think, yep. That guy, very cool dude. Done a lot of really good things. But actually, if you look, there was a time, so I picked GraphQL request because it was lightweight, very small, basically a wrapper around fetch that made it easier to talk to a GraphQL endpoint. And right here, 2 bugs. Did I describe it as a bug? Added a dependency. Yeah, GraphQL tag was added as a dependency. One of the reasons we use GraphQL requests is because it's so small. Now, after this, you made my bundle enormous. Just jumped from 12 to 156. No thanks. Not happy with that. Anyway, maybe I cared too much. But in general, I really like that. I like keeping things as small as they need to be, and I don't like making things more complicated than they need to be. GraphQL does a really great job of making things more complicated. End of answer. Okay, I'm done. Okay, and I got some comments on YouTube and such, and X. Oh, my buddy Joey is in charge of the GraphQL architecture at PayPal. I can ping him quick. Oh, sweet. Yeah, thanks, David. Oh, also, thank you. That's nice of you to say. He said he loves my podcasts. That's nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Bring in Joey. Tell us how the GraphQL stuff worked out at PayPal. I'm cautiously optimistic that things went well there. I think it probably did. Okay, Amin, hello, Kent. First, thanks. You're welcome. Super help. That's great. I'm making an e-commerce web app using Firebase and React Router DOM. I've done this before. I am currently working on user roles. I can organize them by type of user, such as wholesale, admin, super admin, or I can organize them by rights, like what Google IAM is doing. So I'm going to stop right there really quick. So there's a lot of value in modeling the way that you do things after established standards and like patterns or practices. The thing you need to be careful of is that you are not Google. And so if you model everything you do after the way Google is doing them, you're going to be building an application that can scale to billions of users. And you will probably never have billions of users. And so you'll be doing a lot of work that you don't need to do. That's just a general principle, not specifically around this. But this is just something that came to mind. When it comes to user roles and access and even some security stuff, I think it makes a ton of sense to look at standards and best practices and cow paths, like paved trails. Yeah, just something to watch out for. What do you think is the right thing to do? Or if I can rephrase, when do you think we should use user roles and when should we have fine-grained rights over the app? Seems like the call feature, yeah, for some reason, they tried to use the Call Kent podcast, but it wasn't working for some reason. That's too bad. Firebase, including Firebase auth, is not working in China? Yikes. I wonder if maybe you should rethink this. If you're in China, you probably, that's not great. Okay, let's look at what Jacob said, and then I'll say what I'm going to say. Give your user roles, wholesale, operator, admin, super admin, etc., which are buckets of permissions. And then check if they have permissions. Yep. This is basically what the Epic Stack does, yes. Yeah, Epic Stack's a little more complicated, but in spirit, this is basically what the Epic Stack does. Where roles and permissions are stored in the database, which means you can give users power to reassign permissions or even create new roles. If that's a product requirement, then you should be able to do the same. Yeah, so I would just recommend look at, oh, and I forgot to say, answering this now. I forgot to say that. Yeah, I would say just look at what the Epic Stack does and follow suit. It uses RBAC, which is role-based access control, and it works out really nicely. Let me go to the data model, and that might help a little bit. Permission, there we go. And permission and role. So the role belongs to a permission, or yeah, permissions have roles. Roles can be assigned, roles have permissions, and then the roles can be assigned to users. Users have roles which have permissions. I don't know why that was so hard to say. So with that, that should help with what you're doing. The thing is, with Firebase, they have their own user access stuff for the data. So I would look into doing whatever Firebase does. If you're intent on using Firebase, it would make a lot of sense to me to just like figure out how their access control stuff works and just use that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe. Okay, sweet. Or to make new e-commerce from scratch, but satisfying. That's cool. Good for you. Good luck on all that. Okay, 97097. When we should use callback and use memo, what is the difference? Okay, so I'm going to add a link to .im use memo, and this will take you to my blog post about use memo and use callback. I wonder if I even say, yeah, okay. So I do talk a little bit about their difference, but let me just show you. you can re-implement use callback with use memo. Let me find the easiest way to do this. In the React Fundamentals workshop, that'll be the easy way to do this. Actually, you know what? Let's do it in the workshop where I introduce this. Advanced React APIs. Whoops, npm dev. Npm run dev. Pop this open. Let's go over to, no, we'll just go to the first one. I just need a playground. Go to playground. All right, pop this open right here. And let's open this, stick this right next to it, and boom, now I'm recording a video. Okay, sweet. So let's do console or I don't need to console log this thing. Yeah, sure, let's console.log thing equals you, or let's say, yeah, whatever. It's a function. All right, awesome. Function. Why is that not working? Did I mess something up? Oh man, what did I mess up? Alert. Hi. I'm rendering the counter. What the devil? This is in the playground. What is going on? Well, that's annoying. Start it over? That's weird. Did I break something recently? Okay, no, that's working. Okay, it's working now. And there's my arrow function. Boom. Okay, finally. So you can read the blog post to get a better understanding of what these things are. I just want to show you the difference. It's actually really, really simple, and it's kind of silly to me that I spent like a whole 2 minutes just getting this set up so I could demonstrate this, because it's really, really simple. Here's use memo, and now I can get that function, right? So use memo takes a function that returns a thing you want to memoize. The thing I want to memoize is this function. And so now I've got that function, right? But this looks like garbage. What the heck? This looks funny. And that's what use callback is. It allows you to get rid of that. That's it. That's the entire difference between those two. Here's thing, use memo. And use callback. These two are functionally equivalent. To make it a little bit more clear what's going on, let's do this. Let's not use arrow functions, because arrow functions are confusing when they look like this. I think it was Redux Thunk that did this, or one of the Redux things did like a bunch of arrow functions. It was so silly. Okay, so we'll make our function. This is get memo, or yeah, get thing, and then thing to get is this function, and then we're going to return thing to get. So that is the same thing as use memo. Okay, so those two things are equivalent, but most people don't write it this way. Most people would write it this way, but that looks really funny, and it's such a common thing that they created use callback. There you go. Okay, took too long to explain that. Hopefully that was pretty clear. Sweet. Okay, I just got a whole bunch of comments on X from David. Hold on, is this? Okay, I'll just, typically I like to prefer questions in Discord, but I'm going to read through this. I think that just providing additional context, which is helpful. Regarding authentication and authorization, we serve the healthcare space, so we had to create a pretty next level permission system. We built it around AWS Cognito, but totally agnostic. I'll share my Miro board if you want to share it with the person that asked the question. Oh, that's nice. Let me grab that. Stick it in here. Where did I? No, it's right here. Okay. So I'll stick that there. That's kind of neat. is listening while on a Zoom call. Oh, sweet. Might open source that. I think it could be a cool plug and play solution. For a second, I read that as PlayStation for more fine-grained access control. Just have a plugin architecture so people can use any provider. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing. Okay, great. This is the last question that we've got so far. Stabby McGrumpus. I shouldn't laugh. That could be your actual name. Hi there, first time here. So I appreciate the community and you offering your time like this. You're welcome. I did have a question regarding recommendations for client-side caching and building an application. As soon as I hear that, I'm thinking TanStack. That's probably what you want to use. I'm building an application that is a TanStack query that is intended to be a bike transit simulator, grabbing public bike share data and wanting to simulate trips from within a specific geographic and time box window. To accomplish this, I'm preloading a slice of data, station name, station ID, station latitude, station longitude, and then allowing users to set up a window of time, dates, etc. I'm also allowing users to click and drag around the map to select subsections of stations that they'd like to simulate trips within. Cool. My question is regarding the directions themselves. In a separate table in my database, I've inserted records which map to a trip between stations using a key of station one ID with the bar pipe thing, station 2 ID. Since there can be thousands of trips happening within certain windows, I want to cache these direction calls on the client side to remove the need to fetch every time, since I'm guessing those would become very expensive and lengthy very quickly. Do you have any recommendations for client-side key value store, which could provide an interface for this use case? For context, I work primarily in Python SQL, and it's been a hot minute since I worked in JS and React, so a bit out of touch. Okay, sweet, Stabby. One thing I want to make sure I'm understanding right is that map a trip between stations using, okay, so the first thing I want to call out is that a cache is typically your last line of defense. You don't want to start thinking, okay, how do I cache this? Instead, you want to think, how do I make this not slow and not need a cache? Now, sometimes it's very obvious this thing's going to need a cache, but you want to just like have that thought before you start reaching for caching. I also have this talk caching for cache that you can take a look at where I talk about situations where you decided that you do need a cache and talks about some of the issues that, based on your question, I'm pretty sure you have a pretty clear understanding about. But it does give a couple of ideas of different problems that you face with caches and why you probably want to avoid them if you can. Okay, so the one thing that I talk about in that talk is that a cache does not make the computation faster. And so if the computation is slow, then like that's not great. And that's why you want to focus on how do I make this fast? And then maybe once you make it fast, then you can avoid it being a something that needs to be cached at all. Okay, the other thing to consider is if you do this on the client side, then that cache data cannot be shared across users. And it's not clear to me that the trip data is not shareable between users. Like maybe not, but and based on this, it seems that there can be thousands of trips happening within certain windows. Yeah, like it seems like the key that you have here is not complete as well, because it would also need to have the windows, like date and time. So like your cache key it doesn't seem to be complete. And so you could end up saying, oh, go get me that cached value for this, and you get back something that doesn't, that is stale, that doesn't represent the thing that you're trying to reach for. But I might be misunderstanding your use case a little bit. So yeah, first of all, like if the cached values can be shared across users or even with the same user across multiple devices, then caching it in the browser is probably not what you want to do, and it would be better to cache it on the server. Um, the only time, or like there are a couple situations where caching on in the browser is better. And then, like, of course, there's always local first, which I'm assuming you're not getting into. But if you wanted to, you're basically caching all of the user's data on the device for a local first experience. And there are awesome reasons to do that. But let's assume you're not going to go that far. Caching on the device can also be useful in allowing the user to navigate around the app. Once they get that cache value, they can navigate around really nicely and quickly. If you just do that in memory with something like tan-stack query, then hitting refresh is going to result in that cache getting totally blown away, and then they have to build it up again. So you're going to want to have some sort of persistence. I have not done a whole lot with that, but like my first look would be at IndexedDB probably. So yeah, that I think that's everything that I have to say about that. I think maybe you gave me some more context. This interface isn't really intended to be shared between users. Yeah, okay, so not a concern. If it's something that you want, yeah, my original thought was IndexedDB too. Yeah, if it's something that you want to persist across refreshes, then IndexedDB would be great. If it's something you want to persist across devices, then a server-side cache would be great. But even that, you're storing this these trips in the database already. So I think the only thing that you're really saving is the latency for it doesn't look like you're speeding things up for speed of computation. It's just the speed, the latency, so that as the user's navigating around, once they've already retrieved the data for a specific trip, they don't have to go and retrieve that again. To me, that sounds like you could just make an endpoint that has a cache control header, and then let the browser cache it. That would be easier, a lot easier. And my talk actually goes into various approaches like this. So definitely take a look at the talk for more details. Okay, I think, yeah, I'm just waiting for Stabby to come back with whatever they are currently typing. A lot easier, yes. Awesome. I hope that you enjoy the process of developing software because it is awesome. I love it. Okay, great. So just shout out, Epic React Dev is going to be updated. This page is going to be totally new in the coming weeks. It's going to be so epic. And in fact, I don't know if I want to say this, but I'm going to. No, I'm not going to. Haha. Subscribe to read articles and stuff. Go to one of these articles and scroll down to the bottom, and right here, if you haven't already subscribed, it will have a subscribe thing, and you should subscribe because it's going to be great. Yeah, Epic React V2 is going to be so sick. The other thing, the Call Can podcast, feel free to record your call right in the browser, and I will try to keep it to 2 minutes or less-ish. Ask whatever questions that you have in here, and then you can give it a title, description, and keywords, and that I typically just use those for the title of the episode. Then I respond to your question, and it turns into a podcast episode, which is pretty sweet. So definitely do that if you have any other questions, or feel free to just drop them here in the Discord. And I'm just looking at David's comment here on X. IndexedDB is a great choice for persistence systems. We use it for a bit. Also, we have our engineers offload hardcore computations to the database level, even storing computed fields, etc., which is infinitely faster than front-end or even back-end compute. Then it's a simple query to our GraphQL endpoint with a subscription to listen for updates. Apollo GraphQL is excellent for this, The cache system on that library is next level, more for enterprise, but useful and more lightweight now. Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, like there are, when you put stuff at the database level, it's probably going to be faster than anything else that, that you can do. But even still, like if you could just use a cache control header on an HTTP endpoint, then it's probably fine. But yeah, there are multiple solutions to this. Also, like Apollo GraphQL is awesome, and they do next level caching stuff, but it also is very intrusive on your code base, and very, like you said, it's more lightweight now, so maybe things have changed, but I will probably not use Apollo ever. Things would have to change quite a bit for me to decide I needed to use Apollo. I don't know, like I could see in a really big application maybe it could be useful, but I don't know. I was just never captured by Apollo. So anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in, asking questions and whatnot. Feel free to drop more questions as the need arises. And now I'm going to take off. So signing off for now. Thank you and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.